Getting your fuel tank installed in your boat is a big deal. Get it done right, you got decades of trouble-free service. Get it done wrong, you got a headache that won't go away. Now, one thing, after you've had a nice custom fuel tank built, like this one that we got from Ezel Industries down in Florida, is putting a good primer coat on this thing and sealing it up, and then getting some nice isolator pads on it. So we're really going to be focusing on getting the isolator pads on in this episode. Now, if you want to check out the previous episode, we used some of the Interprotect 2000E from Interlux. We did typically 4 or 5 coats to get that tank sealed up. Now, as far as prep work on this Interlux primer, it's quite simple. We just masked off the area that we want to stick our isolator pads on and did a nice circular motion to kind of knock the sheen off of that. And that is just going to be your standard 80 grit on one little Velcro stick it pads from 3M. Now, if y'all want to come on over here, I want to show you. Now, we sourced, this came from Matnix Products. It's a neoprene commercial grade rubber. I'll be sure to put a link to that in our descriptions below, as well as all the other products that we're using here on the channel. And we've got a 12 by 12 here. Went ahead and marked it off with a magic marker, and there's a couple ways you can deal with this stuff. You can cut it with a razor knife or scissors. These heavy duty shears work surprisingly well. I'm sure there are other ways to do it. Just take your time. You gotta kind of just take a little bit. If you don't have some of these big shears, you probably have access to just a razor knife. Using your straight edge there, and you're gonna have to score it 2 or 3 times. Just be careful if you're not used to working with razor knives, but you can see how quickly that gave us a 6 by 12, which just works out for the materials. If you get some different materials and want to do it a slightly different dimension, but this has seemed to work for us, especially on tanks this size in the past. Now, as far as prep work goes, we're going to be using some 40 grit. That's pretty aggressive stuff on a little DeWalt sander, and we're going to be putting some texture on this. Now, one thing you may want to do before we actually start sanding is, we're going to jump around a little bit, y'all just work with me. Spray bottle with a little bit of acetone. We do have some nice fans running, plenty of ventilation here in the shop, but not a bad idea to always be wearing a respirator when you're dealing with this kind of stuff. And let's just clean off any kind of residue that we might have on that. You can see it kind of produces kind of this brownish green. I don't know what that is, but that's pretty common with this kind of stuff. We're going to want to put some texture on it so that the adhesive that we're using is going to grab on. Now, this does a surprisingly good job. That is all the surface that you need to put on that. You just knock down the sheen. Now, for folks that are just getting started, if you got just a block and some sandpaper, it takes a little more elbow grease, but you can get the same results by hand. I would highly recommend picking up a little sander of some type like this if you're going to be doing this kind of work. That's going to come in super handy. All right, folks, so after sanding with your 40 grit, you're going to want to vacuum off the dust. If you guys haven't checked out DeWalt, we've just bought this recently. That thing is so quiet you can barely hear it above the fans. Pretty cool little vacuum, picked it up at Lowe's. So, we got those surfaced on both sides, vacuumed off the dust real well. We're going to hit these again with a little bit of acetone. Just want to be sure all of our bonding surfaces are nice and clean always. That goes for everything that we do here in the shop. Pick up any additional residue before we stick them. Now, if you're new to the channel, I'd like to welcome everybody. My name is Joe. I'm a second generation professional boat builder, 100-ton licensed captain. This is our family's boat shop. We've got over 200 videos here on the channel. A lot of DIY professional grade boat building, repair, Gelcoat, epoxy, that kind of stuff. So feel free to check out the channel and welcome everybody. Got a nice warm day. And again, folks, I'll put a link to that. That's a Matnix rubber sheet, but we'll be sure to put that on our Amazon store. A good quality commercial grade neoprene rubber is what we've used in the past and had success with. So I did block up our fuel tank here. I want to be sure it's on the level. These are pretty cool. That's kind of a new thing. It's a digital level that we got. You can check that's on 0-0. We're plumb and flat. And the material that I like to use, 3M makes a Fast Cure 5200. Now 5200 is used all across the boating industry. It's a permanent bond. If we're doing through-hole fittings or something, we might do a 4200, which might be semi-permanent, but this is permanent. So that's what we want. 3 fat beads seem to be about the right amount. We'll see if we're close there. And I'm gonna spread a little bit on the, I like to put it on the curve side up, where it's kind of concave on the bottom. We'll run a bead or two on there as well. If you've never worked with 5200, it's like working with axle grease. It'll get everywhere, so you're gonna wanna wear some PPE. I'm gonna use the mid-size, not the tiny ones, not the big ones. Getting this right is very important. If this thing's not bonded down properly, these isolators could shift. Although we're gonna do this, there's 2 ways to do it. We can install a fuel tank without foam around it, and you can install one with foam around it. We may do this one both ways. I'm gonna show you how we might install it without foam, and then we'll show it with foam. I do believe there's pros and cons to each. You notice I'm not just plopping this down on there. I'm gonna start at one end and press it into the material. Quite a bit of surface tension there. 5200 is pretty aggressive stuff. So let's tool that a little bit and make it look nice. If you're going to do the work, you might as well do nice work. Probably helps a little bit with the overall bond as well, getting it up on the edges. Taping it does help keep things clean. Now it's very important again to have that tank surface level, because otherwise this stuff will try to slip and slide on you, and that's no bueno. So I've given our 5200 a couple days to cure. Now it doesn't really require that much. Generally about 24 hours in higher temperatures is going to be plenty. And our 1/4 inch neoprene rubber isolator pads are bonded really nicely. They're stuck well, everything's fully cured. Got our little notch trowel again. Similar process to when we stuck these in. I'm gonna go with like 3 passes and get some good coverage on there. More of the same. If you can recruit some help for this kind of project like setting the tank in, I would highly, highly recommend it. This is more or less what it should look like as it applied on the tank and on the receiver. We've already done some prep here where we've marked around the ears and we've pre-drilled the holes ready for our 2 inch by 5/16 stainless steel lag bolt. There we go. Pretty snug fit. We've got a little bit of clearance between, but that'll work. We need about 1.25 inches end to end is where we were, so I'm going to shift that just a smidge, and these bolts should be ready. Now what I did when I drilled this is I kind of did 2 phases of drilling. The first drill bit I used was 5/16 the full diameter, just to get a little pilot hole, and then I went in with like a 3/16 to finish it out all the way through. Give it a little squeeze. A little squeeze. I don't mind if we have a little bit of run out. It really won't hurt a thing if we have a little bit extra, because I would like for the threads to get loaded up and a little bit to ooze out around the edges. If you get a little bit of drooling there at the end of the nozzle, you can always pick some of that up as well. We'll come back and we will tool this 5200, make it right. I also, you'll notice I did do some marks with a magic marker or a Sharpie around those ears. That does also kind of help with placement a little bit. That one did better there. Y'all can see when I shot in there, it kind of squeezed out. You can see it there as well. It kind of came out around the ear. That's more of like what I really wanted to see on that first one. It didn't really do it quite as nice as I would have liked to. That is going to give you some strength as well. 5200 is crazy strong if you've never used it before. And simple matter of running these in. Now, one thing that I've learned with Coosa is it will absolutely hold a fastener or a screw. So it does have some strength to holding, not quite as high as plywood. So you don't really want to go crazy when you are snugging this down. Just nice and firm. And generally, what I like to do is balance it, not tighten everything just on one fastener, but maybe snug one side a little bit, get a little bit of squeeze out, and then we will go to the other side there. Y'all, I don't know about your part of the country, but it is late August down here and it is blazing hot. And man, by this time of the day, we are usually ready to call it. Y'all comment, let me know what part of the world you're watching from. A lot of folks from the UK and from Australia. Welcome to the channel, everybody. If you're new here, happy to have you. This is our project boat that we've documented stringers, foam, transom replacement, you name it. So feel free to go back in the channel. We got over 200 videos, boat builds and everything in between. So you can see we're starting getting a little bit of squeeze out. Just much easier if you shoot it in the hole there versus if you try to put it in there beforehand, you're gonna smear 5200 everywhere. So pretty self-explanatory from here on out now, folks. I had posed the question earlier in this video series, do y'all want to see us do the tank without foam poured around it or with foam poured around it? This kind of installation, what we're doing right here, would be perfectly adequate if you did not want to put foam around it. This thing has been primed with the Interlux 2000E. We're going to bolt this thing in very, very well with the lag bolts and the 5200. If you guys need to order a tank like this, the folks at Ezel Industries, they're down in Perry, Florida. They are very, very nice folks. They have built multiple fuel tanks for me and my family. That is the same kind of fuel tank, except much larger, that we have in our 29-footer that's there behind us. And we have been very, very pleased with the quality. So get in touch with those folks. Tell them you saw us on FISHBUMPTV. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this episode. If you did, give us a like, thumbs up, share, comment, tell a friend. It's Captain Joe here with Island Marine Charters FISHBUMPTV on YouTube. And we will catch you folks in the next episode.